Morning,
sir.
Yeah, morning, sir. How are you, sir?
Good, good, ma'am. How are you?
Good morning, sir. Malakanan, sir.
Morning, ma'am. Can we start?
Okay. Yeah, Malar will start.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
morning to all. Good morning to all. On behalf of PAA as well as IPGA Tamil Nadu chapter, we are successfully conducting GPAT classes for the last 1.5 months, and we have expected the exam for February, but now it is going to postpone. So we have a great opportunity to extend the classes, and we can give you maximum support for all the students. We hope all the students are getting benefited because of this. Many of the students are regularly attending the classes and getting benefits. First of all, I would like to thank all the students who is attending regularly. Also, kindly pass on the benefits to your friends as well as other GPAT aspirants. Kindly inform to your friends also to utilize this platform to get benefits out of this. So if many students get qualified for GPAT, that is our success of our PAA as well as IPGA. And moreover, for your information, more than 50 faculties as well as more than 50 our all the GPAT IPGA as well as PAA members, they are working day and night to make this event for great success. So we are doing this everything mainly for the benefits of the students. So kindly understand all the students and kindly inform to your friends to get benefits out of this. So today also we have two eminent speakers for this today's program. First speaker, Dr. T. Vijaya Kiruba. With this information, I am handing over the mic to Mr. Malarkannan to introduce the first speaker to give maximum knowledge and all the technical aspects support to the students. Malar, over to you.
Thanks, Shinu. Good morning, everyone. I have the pleasure in introducing Dr. T. Sri Vijaya Kiruba, ma'am. She's not new to this panel, actually. She's presented a webinar previously. So she's an inspirational speaker from what I see. And I think the students should make use of her wise knowledge in the platform. She is currently working as the head of the Department of Cognosy at Periyar College of Pharmaceutical Sciences. She graduated her bachelor's degree in pharmacy from Periyar College in 1998. Then she did her master's in Pharmacognosy in Madurai Medical College. She was awarded the degree at the Tamil University in Tanjavur in 2010. She is currently, as I said, like professor and head of the Department of Cognosy at Periyar College of Pharmaceutical Sciences. She has over 19 years of academic experience and research experience, and she's been handling postgraduate as well as undergraduate classes. She's an approved guide for the PhD courses in the Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University as well. Being an active R&D person, she has a wide knowledge about the recent developments in the industry as well. And she's been involved in organizing national level conferences, webinars, and seminars for the benefit of students as well as the industry. She has attended lots of international conferences, including the 9th World Tamil Conference in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And she's also attended a research conference in Sri Lanka. And she's very well versed in what she does. And she's also been awarded the Young Researcher Award in 2021 by the Institute of Scholars in Bangalore, Karnataka. So with this, I request Dr. T. Sri Vijaya Kiruba to take over the platform, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So thank you for the nice introduction. Good morning, one and all. And I'm immensely pleased to deliver the session in today, that is Sunday. First of all, I would accord my appreciation and thankfulness to the vibrant PAA Alumni Association, Pharmaceutical Alumni Association of MMC, who have joined hands with IPGA and conducting this GPAT classes, as already told by Dr. Sini Pandian sir. They are conducting this GPAT classes continuously for the budding pharmacists. So once again, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity. I think I can straight away go to my session. I'll share my screen now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is the title slide. And first of all, I would like to appreciate all the students who are actively preparing for their GPAT classes. And the topic that has been that I have selected in today's session is Indian System of Medicine. You don't wonder where this topic is. Of course, in your GPAT syllabus, in the subject of pharmacognosy, you are given a topic called herbal formulations. So when you peep into that topic, you can see that they have given you the topics like Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and homeopathy and all. Of course, they come under this Indian System of Medicine. So that I have named the presentation as Indian System of Medicine. As we all know that many of us might have come across, though we just have a survey or though we just see it happens or it seems that we are all truly dependent on allopathic systems of medicine. So what about other systems? So they call, if there is allopathy, what is the alternate? Yes, there is alternate system of medicine. So what are the alternate systems of medicine? Yes, the answers may be Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and homeopathy. As a pharmacognosist, my point of view is what if somebody asks me what is the alternative system of medicine, I will say allopathy. And why? Because they are the in recent years, in recent centuries only, as Indians, as Asians, we are adopting this allopathic system of medicine. So as years passed by, yes, we are also calling, yes, allopathy. The alternative medicines are going to be Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and homeopathy. So the WHO, that is World Health Organization, they have made a survey and they have found that 80% of the population, especially in the developing countries, they still rely on this traditional medicine for meeting over their primary healthcare needs. And when we take our own country, India, the traditional medicine, of course, are going to be Ayurveda, Siddha, and Unani. And one more point I want to just tell you people, each and every system, Ayurveda, be it Ayurveda, Siddha, or Unani, we are going to be ocean. The subject is going to be like ocean. But due to this, we are concentrating only on GPAT aspects. I'll just highlight the key points, right? So we know that the medicinal plants, they play an important role in the traditional medicine, and our country, India, it has a rich heritage of traditional medicine and it is flourishing day by day. And here, what about the Western culture or Western medicine? Yes, that is the English medicine, allopathic medicine. When we take the allopathic medicine, there are going to be many of the phytopharmaceuticals that are widely used. Here I have quoted some examples. So the cardiac glycosides from digitalis, morphine from opium, reserpine from rauwolfia, quinine from cinchona, and artemisinin. So this drug actually, it has the one of the scientists, she won a Nobel Prize in recent years for having done work on this Artemisia. So likewise, we cannot just neglect that allopathy is totally going to be different from the alternative systems of medicine. So in these years, we can just see that both are going hands in hand and they are in their research. Yes, the first system of medicine. So I repeat once again, I'll be just only concentrating only on the key points about Ayurveda, right? So it is accepted, it is regarded as the oldest medical system, which came into existence in the 900 BC. And what is how this term originated? So it is coined by means of two words, combining two words, Ayur and Veda. Ayur means life and Veda means science. Thereby, Ayurveda can be considered as the science of life, right? And as Indians, we very well know that there are going to be four important Vedas: Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharvana Veda. And yes, and what about this Ayurveda? It is the Upaveda of Ayurveda. Right. And here, Charaka Samhita and Shushruta Samhita, you should remember these two terms. I hope that you will be prepared by keeping your running notes behind. You just note down, as well as the slides will be shared to you. Then you can remember, you have to remember these two terms, Charaka Samhita and Shushruta Samhita. So Samhita meaning it is the document, the ancient scripts, we call them as Samhita. So the persons like Charaka and Shushruta, they wrote some documents and they are called so. Here, this Charaka Samhita, in that document, we can find nearly 341 plants and what are all their uses and how they are used in medicine. Likewise, in the document Shushruta Samhita, and it especially emphasizes on the part of surgery. In that textbook also, we can find there are going to be 395 medicinal plants, 57 drugs, that too from animal origin, mineral drugs 4 in numbers, as well as metals that are used as therapeutic agents. So I can say that the allopathic system as well as Ayurveda go hand in hand. Here we can just go into the Ayurvedic system of medicine. We can select the drugs having ethnopharmacological relevance. Then what we can do in the current stage, we can go for validation, scientific validation, that is phytochemical evaluation, biological studies, then targeting the compound analysis, profiling it, and also checking the bioavailability and pharmacokinetics. I can say as a pharmacognosist, I can say there is a vast potential in the field of Ayurveda as well as Siddha. We have to tap out as young pharma graduates. You have to just explore what are all the medicinal plants that are available, that are quoted, that are there in the Ayurvedic text as well as in the Siddha. Then you have to apply your present scientific advancements, and then you have to come out with the fruitful results, whether they are doing their action, and that would be helpful to the society. Here, the principles of Ayurveda. As I went into the GPAT syllabus, I found that they have stressed to read the principles of Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and homeopathy. So here, the principles first, this is one of the important principle, that is Pancha Bhuta, Pancha Mahabhuta. So I think we are very well aware the 5 important elements that exist around us: earth, water, fire, air, and space. So here, this Ayurveda, many of the Sanskrit words are employed. So they just called it as Prithvi, Jal, Teja, Vayu, and Akash. And here the Pancha Mahabhuta theory, they just relate with that of the human body. What they tell means, whatever is going to exist around us, we live in the earth, we consume water, we also use fire. So air is filled, we are in the space, likewise, isn't it? So all those elements are found within us. So just the way goes these principles of Ayurveda. And these are the 3 basic principles of Ayurveda, I can say. One is Pancha Mahabhuta Siddhanta, and other one is Tridosha theory. They are the 3 pillars of life. And there is another one principle called Guna, Rasa, Virya, Vipaka, Prabhava, Siddhanta. So don't worry or don't think that what is this pharmacognosy, we have to study botanical names, that is going to be Greek and Latin, because that is a common saying. If we talk very difficult words, and if somebody is not able to understand what we speak, they usually talk, so are you talking in Greek and Latin? Just talk to me as that I understand. Why? Because the as a pharmacognosist, we just learn and we just teach many of the Greek and Latin terms. The thing is, they are in the name of biological sources. And here, this is another one aspect. Here also, some of the Sanskrit terms are involved. But anyhow, as Asian people, we have to just look into our traditional medicine, and then we have to imbibe it, right? And here, so what are the tridoshas that we will see in the forthcoming slide? They are going to be Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So they just target for each organ. Here, they just target Kapha. It is a combination of the 2 elements, water and earth. It is concentrated in the lungs, the pitta in the stomach, and the vata in the intestinal portion. Right. So the qualities of vata, it is reflecting the elements, as I told, the space and air, pitta, as well as kapha, right? And they should be in balance. All these three things, that is vata, pitta, and kapha, should be in balance. Only then the person will be a healthy individual. Then there is another one concept you should remember while reading this topic of Ayurveda, dhatus. So what do you mean by dhatus? They are the body constituents, right? So they are going to be 7 in numbers. They are named as rasa, which means food juices, rakta, which means the hemoglobin portion of the blood. I think in Tamil we call it as rattam. So in Sanskrit they call it as rakta, right? And mamsa, that is muscle tissues, medas, fatty tissues, ashti, that is bone tissue, maja, that is bone marrow, and shukra, the semen. So here all these comes under dhatus. And how they diagnose, how a Ayurvedic practitioner. So once again, I just stress, I am only highlighting the key points that is more relevant for your GPAT preparation. I'm not going to tell all the concepts of Ayurveda because as I told you earlier, it is an ocean, right? So here I have just come over to the diagnostic part. So as Ayurvedic practitioners, what they will diagnose? Yes, they will diagnose all these aspects, right? They have given also the Sanskrit terms for that. So there are 8 diagnostic therapies. One is pulse diagnosis. It is called as Nadi Pariksha. Likewise, urine examination, nervous system examination, the digestive part examination, that is metabolic products, the mucus and mucoid secretions, stool examination, tongue examination, as well as the examination of sounds. So when you approach an Ayurvedic practitioner, so what an allopath will do, he will just monitor our pulse, isn't it? So initially he will start monitoring our pulse and then he will check the BP. Likewise, it goes on. Here also, these are going to be the diagnostic steps for Ayurveda, right? And here we told that the Ayurvedic practitioner, he will just examine as a part of diagnosis the stool examination. I will rush up because I have to cover Siddha, then Unani as well as homeopathy. I'll just rush up. And at the end, we can have one more discussion if you just have any queries, right? So here, the examination, the excretory matter, very important. They will check the urine, fecal matter, as well as the perspiration. So there should not be any difficulties on all these person who is going to be an individual, right? So the doshas, the dhatus, and the malas, it should be in perfect equilibrium for an individual to remain healthy, right? If there is any imbalance, ultimately it leads to illness. Okay, fine. So what about the treatment? So here, the Ayurvedic practitioners, they will just check the tridosha that is existing in our body, whether they are in the balanced stage or else they are going to be in the imbalance, as well as they will also check for the digestion as well as the undigested food contents, right? And here, what are the therapies that the Ayurvedic practitioner, he will just concentrate on? First is going to be Shodhana, next Shamana and Rasayana. So what do you mean by Shodhana? Cleansing. First, they will concentrate on this part. What they generally do, they will concentrate on the toxins as well as they will remove the emotional or physical parameters that disturbs our body, right? And next is Shodhana, that is a Shamana. It is called as palliative treatment. So they just reduce the intensity of the disease as well as they try for balancing of the doshas. And finally, the treatment therapy, that is rejuvenation therapy, where they just give the drugs for treatment, isn't it? So that they call it as Rasayana. And here, what type of drugs are given, administered, or used for preparing these Ayurvedic formulations? Of course, medicinal plants, that is vegetable, and as well as they just make use of animals, mineral substances, and even metals are also used. Metals, the commonly used metals, they even make use of gold, silver, copper, lead, tin, and iron during the preparation of this, some of the Ayurvedic formulation. And some elements as like arsenic, antimony, though we consider them as heavy metals, in lighter proportions, they just make use, right? And here the properties of what are the proper, I just adjust my screen and I'll continue. Yeah, the properties are going to be Rasa, Guna, Virya, Vipaka, Prabhava. So here these are different types. They're just Ayurvedic herbs. They possess these type of properties. Okay. So the taste, physiochemical properties. What about the potential of those herbal drugs? And what happens? What type of action it exhibits? That is post-digestive effect. And what is the uniqueness of the drug? What is the usefulness of the drug? So all these properties are important. So when we just look into the taste, so the drugs may possess sweet taste, sour taste, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. Each taste for each of the herbal drugs, they just have some medicinal properties as a synergistic effect, right? So that also we have to concentrate. And here this guna, we have to concentrate on the guna also. There are 5 major classes. They have just detailed in this Ayurvedic medicine. They just relate with water, earth, fire, air, and light, as we already discussed. Then Virya, it represents the potency of the drug, and the Vibha, it is quality of substance that just what it does to the body after we consume it, right? And Prabhava, so here this how the drug is going to exhibit the action in our body. So here the drug possesses all these properties, Ayurvedic drugs. And these are going to be 8 different branches in Ayurveda. So likewise, it goes Kaya, Chikitsa, Shalya, Tantra. Likewise, you don't just get dejected. So what are these? Whether I have to remember, memorize all these for my GPAT? No, you can just have an idea. So these are going to be the different branches of Ayurveda, right? And this topic is given for your preparation for GPAT class. That is, what are the different Ayurvedic formulations? There are a number of Ayurvedic formulations. When you peep into this Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia, that is going to be published by Government of India. There we can see a number of Ayurvedic formulations are there with examples. But here, when I stick on to your GPAT syllabus, we have to concentrate on all these. We categorize Ayurvedic formulations in solid dosage forms, liquid dosage, as well as semi-solid, because in allopathic also the same type of category. Here, the examples for solid dosage forms are Vati or Vatika, Gutikas, Churnas, and Bhashmas. Then liquids, Asavas, Aristas, and semi-solids, Availagas. I have highlighted those formulations that you need to just concentrate for your GPAT, right? So Arista, so what is Arista? It is a liquid preparation. It contains a weak alcoholic liquors. It is going to be a self-generated alcoholic preparation, which is liquid in nature, where we just make use of vegetable juices along with honey or jaggery. Here, it is self-explanatory. We make use of roots, leaves, and barks, and we prepare in the form of decoction, right? And also some examples are here, Arjurishta and Kadir Arjurishta, right? And Asava, this is another one liquid dosage form. Here, this is also going to be a self-generated alcoholic preparation. But here, what is the difference between Asava and Arista means there we make use of decoction. Here, we just make use of the infusion. That is, the powdered plant drug will be just subjected to infusion method, where the solvent will be added in the hot condition and filtered, right? So in that occasion, Arista and Asava differs, right? And the another one formulation, we call it as Vati or Vatika. Here, this is, you just remember, they are going to be pills. So those days, nowadays, when somebody asks you, so name some dosage forms, like the first answer that comes from us, part is tablets, isn't it? Tablets and capsules. So tablets nowadays, they are very well automated, and when we just pass on the coarse granules, granulated particles, we just come out with the tablets of different size. But those days and all, what the practitioners did means they prepared the tablets from by making use of manual method by their hands. They just rolled it and then they made into shapes where they called it as pills. Okay. So this is one type, Vati or Vatikas. Those days they were handmade. Nowadays they are going to be tablets, right? So this is called one formulation. The other formulation is churna, which means fine powder. So powdered mixture. So how much the fineness should be? So this may be one of the GPAT question. They will pass on through the cloth or the fine seals. The mesh size is going to be 80 to 120 mesh size. So here, of course, we can make use of jaggery or sugar and consume it along with milk, hot water, or cow's urine. I think we cannot be palatable with the cow's urine and all, because those days it was administered. Nowadays, we can just stick on to milk and hot water. Here they have given some examples. Then thylas, and here they are going to be liquid preparations, viscous liquid preparations, and medicated oil. So what are thylas? Answer is medicated oil, right? And Krita, they make use of butter. So they are medicated ghees or clarified butter. Along with the medicinal plant preparations, they also contain ghee as well as butter. So their preparation is called as Grita. It is a semi-solid dosage form. Here I have given some example also. And this slide gives us some pictorial representation of some of the marketed Ayurvedic formulations, right? And now I switch over to Siddha system of medicine. So being belonging to Tamil Nadu, we should be very proud that this system originated from Tamil Nadu. Siddha medicine, it is mostly practiced in southern India, and Tamil language, it is written, many of the documents are Tamil language. And especially it originated near the banks of the river Kaveri and Tamirabarani, right? And here, in addition to herbs, Siddha system also make use of metals and minerals, like minerals. So the metals like mercury, they make use, as well as sulfur, copper, arsenic, and gold are all made use in this system. And what about the principle? Here I can say that, yes, you might be having an idea. Siddha and Ayurveda goes hand in hand. That is, many of the principles, they are just what similar to one another. There we told that Tridosha, here the same. The Tridosha in Ayurveda, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Here the same, Vadam, Pittam, and Kabam, right? And here also all the 5 basic elements like Akasha, Vayu, and fire and all. Here they have given how it is combined. So Vatam, it is a combination of Akasha and Vayu, and it controls our nervous system. It is responsible for the movement and sensation. Pitta, it is formed by Thi, that is fire. It controls the metabolic activity of our body, as well as it keeps us warm. Kapam, it is formed by Man and Ni. All are going to be in our vernacular language, that is Tamil, so that we can easily, very well understand it, right? And here, this Tridoshas, they are going to be involved in all the functions of our body. And Vatam, what are the characteristics of Vatam? It is going to be very dry, light, and cold, and responsible for motility likewise. And what about Pitta? As we told earlier, it is formed by fire, that is T. It controls our metabolism as well. And where it predominates, it is there in our tissue systems as well as in the blood. And it predominates in the second 1/3 of life. I think many of us, many of you people will agree with my words. So Pittam, it is going to get predominated in second 1/3 of life. And what about Kapha? Kabam, it is its nature is smooth, firm, viscid, heavy, and likewise, and it predominates in the last 1/3 of our life. And here, these are going to be some of the aspects. One is going to be the Siddha system of medicine, where what and all it concentrates: the lymph, blood, muscle, adipose tissue, bone, as well as another one, marrow, and male and female sex hormones. So here, these are going to be some of the vernacular terms. There in Ayurveda, they were in Sanskrit terms, right? And here, one second. So the treatment methods, here the treatment goes like this. When there is going to be the imbalance of the three doshas, automatically the person becomes unhealthy. 5 types of Vayu are there: Prana, Apana, Samana, Vyana, and Udana. Once again, don't get tensed or don't get frightened whether I have to remember. You just have a look, you just hear these words. All are given in our ancient text, which we should never forget, and we have to follow in our regular life, right? And here, mercury plays an important role in Siddha system of medicine. The Siddhas, they just made use of mercury in different forms like Rasam, Lingam, Veeram, Puram, and Rasa Chenduram. I think some of the terms we might be come across in our daily life, isn't it? So they are going to be having mercury in all those preparations. And classification of Siddha formulations, they just, there are different types. One is lavana, where the drugs are dissolved in water and they just put it in the fire and they are going to be water soluble in nature. Likewise, it goes. Then there is another one, Siddha formulation, Pashanam. Then another one is going to be called as Uparasam, right? You can go through what are all these things because I have to just cope up with the time and I have to just move on to other systems also. Likewise, all these are going to be some of the Siddha preparations, right? Rasam, Gandhakam, Ratnas and Uparatnas. Some of the terms we are very well familiar in our local language, that is Tamil, right? And these are some of the common preparations that we come across in Siddha: Bhashmas, Churnas, Kashaya, Lehyas, Gritas, Sailas, Chunna, Melugu and Kattu. So here, these are all some of the Siddha medicines. And also we can see some of the products. Brahmi is nothing but Centella asiatica, which is a nervine tonic. It is available in the form of Siddha preparation as Brahmi Rasayan. And now I move on to the third system of medicine, Unani system. As we compare four systems, as in India, the Ayurveda ranks first, and in Tamil Nadu, next to Ayurveda, Siddha comes second, right? So Unani system is going to be somewhat concentrated in some localized areas only, but it is there in your GPAT syllabus. So let us have a look into it also. This system, it originated from Greece and by the Greek philosopher Hippocrates. I think Hippocrates is not new to us as pharmacists. Yes. So Hippocrates, he is very much responsible for exploring and the importance of this Unani system of medicine. After Hippocrates, yes, Galen, he is also very well known to us, father of pharmacy. So he also played a major role in establishing this Unani system of medicine. And here, as we told earlier, it originated from Greece. So other countries like Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Persia, also they just follow this in addition to India as well as China, right? And how this system came into our country means the Delhi Sultans, when they just ruled our country, they just brought this system of medicine into our country. And these are the 7 components of Unani system of medicine, the basic elements: temperaments, humors, organs, spirits, faculties and functions. And of these terms, we have to remember the humor. There are 4 humors. So this they may ask in your GPAT question. So what are the 4 humors? They just, as Unani practitioners, they call them as Hakim, right? The Hakim, they just concentrate on the person's blood phlegm level, yellow bile and the black bile, right? So when there is going to be the imbalance in all these 4 humors, then ultimately the person will be a diseased person. Likewise, how they diagnose? They just diagnose our pulse, they examine the urine and the stool, and they go for treatment. And these are the 3 different types of treatment ways in Unani system. One is regimental therapy, another one is dietotherapy, the third is pharmacotherapy. So regimental therapy, that is called drugless regimen. They just advise for exercise, massage and hammam. So what is hammam? It is called Turkish bath, and they recommend for some of the doses, usage of doses in the form of cold as well as hot condition. Then dietotherapy, they just advise for diets, and finally they recommend some drugs also. They call it as pharmacotherapy. Here the company Hamdar, they have just marketed not only this formulations, there are many Unani formulations. This is one just example. Now I move on to the homeopathic system of medicine. This system was developed by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. He has a very big name, but let us remember as Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, right? And what is the principle in this homeopathic system of medicine? You just remember this term, similia similibus currenter. And what is the meaning of this? Like cures like. Here I want to just share with you an interesting anecdote about this system of medicine. I think many of the pharmacognosy teachers might have just shared this experience with you, how this system of medicine just originated means this person Hahnemann, he was actually practicing allopathic medicines those days. That is, don't just wonder whether those days itself allopathic existed. Yes, it was in the beginning. He was just a physician who just practiced the allopathic system. Then accidentally what he found means the drug Syncona. He was working on the drug Syncona, which we know that it is an anti-malarial drug because the important active constant is going to be quinine, isn't it? So those days they were not able to isolate the active principle. They were using in the raw form. So he took the Syncona bark, he chewed it. He was healthy at that time. When he chewed Syncona bark, after some time period, he developed some illness like fever and other discomfort. All those symptoms, they just mimicked malaria. And what he just did means, at that time, many of the persons were affected by malaria. He he targeted a person who was affected by malaria. He just gave the bath to him, and after some time period he found that that person affected with malaria was completely cured out of it. So likewise this system originated, and the basic principle is going to be similia similibus currenta, that is like cures like. And how they have coined this word from two words, homeos and pathos. That is, homeos means like and the pathos means treatment. So it is a system of medicine which treats the disease or person suffering from any ailment by administering the drugs. So here I stress, by administering the drugs. What kind of drugs? That possesses the power of producing similar suffering. To whom? To a healthy human being, right? So this is somewhat interesting, isn't it? Right. And here Hippocrates, the father of medicine, he was also involved in establishing this system of medicine in the earlier period, but Hahnemann only developed the system completely. Here this pictorial representation, it just reminds us, yes, this is how homeopathic formulation will appear, right? Yes, you are very right. So what are the different principles of homeopathy? These are the different principles: law of similia, law of simplex, law of minimum, drug proving, drug dynamization or potentization, vital force, acute and chronic diseases, as well as individualization. Yes, this is very, very important from point of view. This also you have to target. You have to concentrate while you prepare for your exam, right? So these are the important principles, right? So here law of similar, as already told, like cures like. So this is first principle of homeopathy. And law of simplex, only simple preparations are involved. A simple drug, that is one drug or two drug are included in the homeopathic preparations. Whereas in Ayurveda, Siddha and Unani, when you take many of the formulations, they may contain multi-drugs. So multi-herbs will be present. Poly-herbal they will be. But when you take this homeopathic, only simple preparations will be there. And this is going to be law, that is the dilution, that is minimization. So the dose is going to be very, very minimal. So this is truly contradictory to the allopathic system of medicine. Why? Because if I suffer from a mild fever, I'll be given by the physician only paracetamol of 500 milligram. If the feverish symptoms is going to be too high and the condition goes worse, then what happens? The allopathic practitioner, he will increase the dose ultimately. Yes, that is agreed. But in this homeopathic system of medicine, what is just detailed means, they just say that when you minimize the dose, the potency will be increased. So this is one of the principles of homeopathy. And here curative properties. So we have to imbibe the curative properties. We have to give power to the drug, increase its curative properties, and thereby make the person healthy. And dynamization or potentization, this may be done by the process of trituration and succussion. And the vital force, so here the vitality of the drug content to be increased. Okay, so how a person will become diseased? Because he will become disharmonious due to the decrease in his vital force, right? So that has to be increased. So that may be increased in this homeopathic system of medicine. And here, then acute and chronic diseases, they just classify in as that of the allopathic system, and they just concentrate in homeopathic system also. Then individualization. So this is another one important principle, not only for homeopathy, in all the alternative systems of medicine, I can say, that is Ayurveda, Siddha, and whatever. They just don't target the disease. Okay, those persons suffering from fever, you belong to group A. Those persons suffering from leg pain or arthritis, you belong to group B. Those persons suffering from jaundice, you belong to group C. So not like that. They will just treat individuals. They will collect their family history and they will recommend the drugs. They will dispense the drugs based on the individualization, right? And I think I can stop my aspect with this, because this is a very huge topic, I think so. So what you have to get prepared from this session means you have to go through the principles of Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and homeopathy. So you just go through all the slides that had been presented, and you just note down what is the principle of Ayurveda. Yes, Tridosha theory is there. Not only in Ayurveda, in Siddha also, the Tridosha theory is there. What are the 5 basic elements? You write it down so that it will be useful for you. And what about Unani? There are 4 humors in Unani. So what are those 4 humors? You just recollect. And homeopathy, there are 7 principles. Likewise, you remember. Then meaning of Ayurveda and Ayurvedic formulations, that also you have to just memorize, right? And here, this, because in addition to your subject, you are also supposed to write another one session where aptitude and other general knowledge will be there. Sometimes these type of questions may also be there in your exam. So here Charak is considered known as the father of Ayurvedic medicine, and Sushruta, father of Indian medicine, and he is also considered as father of plastic surgery. And here Ayurveda, it is attributed to Dhanvantri. Who is Dhanvantri? He is considered as a physician to God as per Hindu mythology. So Ayurveda Day, it is observed every year on Dhanvantri Jayanti, and it was started by the Ministry of Ayush in the year of 2016. So last year, that is 2021, they celebrated this Ayurveda Day with the theme called Ayurveda for Poshana, that is for nutrition, right? And that you can remember. And here, Ayush, I think you might be familiar. It is an acronym for Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha, and Homeopathy. So all these are going to be the indigenous systems of medicine that is practiced in India, right? And what about Siddha? Some other points. Agastya or Agastya, he is believed to be the founding father of Siddha medicine, and Hippocrates as the father of Unani medicine as well, right? Hippocrates, his name is going to be Bakrat, it seems so, right? And Unani, this Unani system, as I told, it is originated in Greece, and the Unani doctors are called as Hakims, and Unani Day is going to be observed on 11th February. Then you might be wondering, Madam, you didn't tell about Siddha Day, because you told Ayurveda Day, you are telling about Unani Day, and what about Siddha Day? There is no particular day, but what they generally do means they are celebrating the nakshatra of Agastya Siddhar, isn't it? So it generally falls either in the last of December or in the beginning of January. So in this January beginning also, the Siddha Day was celebrated. January 2nd, they celebrated the Siddha Day, right? So thank you. I just conclude my presentation and I'm waiting for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, madam, for your excellent and elusive talk.
Thank you. Very, yeah.
Actually, it is a very big topic. You have concluded with very excellent keynote, and moreover, most of the students might understood it clearly, and all the valid points you have highlighted, and they might understood on the exam point as well as. Hope it will be more useful for the students to score more. And another 10 minutes we have to close the session. Even if the participants, if they have any questions also, you can attend. Actually, two of the feedback has come. Sharmila Sridhar has mentioned, you have given excellent information and it is greatly benefited for her. to prepare the GPAT. And moreover, even our Meenakshi madam also has mentioned, it's excellent talk, and your English fluency is really better, and it was given interesting, so very interesting, and she has appreciated.
Thank you so
And
much.
Jaya Kumari madam also has mentioned good information.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Last only I joined due to my health issue. Till Vijay presented excellent way.
Thank you, ma'am.
Really, you cover all that traditional system of medicine important topics.
Yes, ma'am.
Good presentation, Kripa. Thanks for
Thank you,
your
ma'am.
contribution. Thank you very much. Students, I hope students more benefited this session. I think so.
Sure,
Good presentation,
truly,
Vijay Kripa. Thank you, Vijay Kripa.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Clarity, correct. I joined only late only, but still I know your presentation from the beginning itself. I watched from the MMC group, so
Yes,
presentation is good.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Meenakshi, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am. And
Okay.
Sharmila again and again, she is clearly mentioning session is very good.
Thank you,
Excellent,
Sharmila,
including
madam.
all the topics. Okay.
Thank you.
And many appreciation for your English.
Oh, thank you so
And-
much.
And earlier we could remember your topic for our farm,
Yes, sir.
all the
Soft
motivational speech, soft skill and motivational speech. Really, today also we got motivated, and
Yes,
we
yes,
also learned all the Indian system of medicine.
Yes,
Even
sir.
though we are not going to attend any exam, it's really interesting, and we could also learn many terms, and definitely it will be useful in our daily life.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
so
much, madam.
Sure, sir.
With this keynote, our second speaker, Mr. Vigneshwar, he is assistant professor. He is going to talk about pharmaceutical engineering. I request Mr. Malarkannan to introduce our second speaker. He is also excellent speaker. He is going to throw a lot of lights on the topic, especially for pharmaceutical engineering. I request all the students keep on track and learn more, and definitely it will be more useful for you to score high in our GPAT. Your success is our success, so we are awaiting for the speakers. Okay, Malarkannan.
Doctor, 1 minute, doctor, 1 minute. Can I just talk? Yes, Dr. Vijaya Kiruba, that Ayurvedic book, I'll just forward some pharmacopoeia which I have. I'll just forward it.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Students, and secondly, you have given a very good brief introduction about the different systems. It is very excellent, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijaya Kiruba, ma'am. As usual, you rocked the session.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Chinu,
Yes, ma'am.
can we
Yes,
go ahead to
mother.
the next speaker?
Kindly.
Is Mr. Vigneshwar ready?
Yes, yeah.
Good morning,
He is
sir.
ready.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, sir. So I am very pleased to invite the next speaker for today's event. It's Mr. M. Vigneshwar, who is currently serving as a faculty of pharmacy, assistant professor, faculty of pharmacy, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute in Chennai. He graduated his UG and PG from Jaya College of Paramedical Sciences in Chennai, and he is also a topper in his batch of 2012 to 16. So as I said, like he's currently working as an assistant professor. He has presented in a lot of national and international conferences across the globe, including Malaysia and Indonesia, and he has also published many articles. So with this, I welcome Mr. Vigneshwar to deliver the lecture.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your brief introduction. Thank you so much.
Vignesh, wait a minute. Just I want to tell about one thing, sir.
Yes,
Malakaran, sir,
please
please give a permission to me.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Actually, students, listen. Vigneshwar is a youngest teacher of that one. Last time we conducted IPGA GPAT classes. Immediately he accepted. I asked Vigneshwar, you have to give 1 or 2 topics. Immediately he accepted. Actually, at the time, Just he has finished her PG degree and joined in Jaya College. Immediately he accepted, and the presentation also very excellent, very good way students. So all students, I requested you take and Vigneshwar as a role model and do your work and excel in your exams also. I hope Vigneshwar, you present your ideas and lectures.
Thank you. Thank
Sir,
you.
Vigneshwar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sir, உங்க வாய்ஸ் கொஞ்சம் எக்கோ ஆகுது சார். வாய்ஸ் கிளியர் கொஞ்சம்.
Is it clear now, sir? Is it clear now?
இல்ல கொஞ்சம் எக்கோயிங் இருக்கு. எக்கோயிங் மாதிரி இருக்கு.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute.
Hello, Vigneshwar sir. Is it okay now?
Sir, not audible, sir. Not audible.
Yes, not audible.
Yeah.
Sir, is it now audible, sir? Is the voice clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now it is okay. Now it is okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can continue, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So today we are going to see about size reduction. It's a very important topic, size reduction. It comes under pharmaceutical engineering, right? The most important topic, size reduction. Okay, we are going to proceed with size reduction. First, we must know what is size reduction. So size, first we separate the words size and reduction. Size refers to physical dimension of an object, right? So ஒரு பொருள் நம்ம பார்க்கும்போது எப்படி இருக்குன்னு பார்க்கறோம் இல்லையா? So அது என்ன அளவுல இருக்குன்றதை தான் நம்ம size அப்படின்னு சொல்லி சொல்றோம். Next, reduction. So reduction means decrement or reducing, right? So அப்ப size கம்மி பண்றோம். அதுக்கான process என்னென்னலாம் இன்வால்வ் பண்றோமோ that is size reduction. So size reduction is the operation carried out for reducing the size of bigger particles to smaller one. So that is what the exact meaning of size reduction. It is also known as pulverization, comminution, diminution. So you can be getting the questions, what is the other name of size reduction? You can be getting the options like comminution, diminution, pulverization, all the above. You will be taking somewhere a comminution or diminution, but you will not know that all these resemble the same word, size reduction. So you must be very careful. Comminution, diminution, and pulverization, everything means size reduction. Okay, so that is very important question, one expected question which can be asked in your exam. And size reduction is the process of reducing large solid units or substance into smaller unit mass, coarse particles or fine particles. Okay, so it can be converted from a large substance of bigger size into either smaller size of coarse particle or fine particles. That does not matter. It may be either coarse or fine in nature. So there are various types of powder, we all know, but if time passes, we'll move to size sieving, right? So at that chapter we'll see what are the various types of powders and what are the specifications, but here I just given the specification, what is the coarse powder size and moderate to fine powder and very fine powder. And you can see in the right side diagram, it clearly shows that the size of particles are getting from larger to smaller size. So that will be very helpful. So if you see the diagram, you can see in the top the particle sizes are very large, right? And when we are going for size reduction, it makes the particle to split into smaller size, and it will goes on when you are going on doing the size reduction, and ultimately the particle will get size reduced. So that is what the process size reduction involves. So what are the objectives? That is a very important thing. What are the objectives of size reduction? Okay, So why we need size reduction and what is the objectives of doing the size reduction? So first we have to know in industry, if you are going for any type of formulation, the size reduction is a major important parameter which will be done, or a process which will be done. So only after the size reduction, you will get the exact or the required nature of the product. Okay, so that is very important. So hence the size reduction plays an important role in any type of industry, especially in the pharma industry. It is very key to increase the surface area. Okay, we all very much know that when you are reducing the size, then the surface area will always increase, right? So always the surface area will increase when you are reducing the size. So you must be always remembering this concept. And there are various other objectives also to achieve intimate mixing. So if the particle sizes are large, it cannot be mixed very well, right? So if you are getting smaller particles, you can easily mix with each other ingredients, and the smaller particles tend to move faster. So the mixing will be happening at a very faster rate. To dispose solid waste easily, yes. So if the waste and materials which are very large in size, it may be leads to very difficult in disposing. That can be also be overcome with help of size reduction. To mix solid particles more intimately to improve handling characteristics. Okay. So advantages and significance and objectives of size reduction. So the various objectives and applications are content uniformity. So to make the content uniform throughout the mixture. So if you are making a tablet, right? So it contains metformin, glimepiride, and along with that voglibose. So everything has to be in a uniform way. So we need the size to be at a desired size so that it can be mixed well and the content will get uniformity. If the size is not good, there will not be uniformity, right? And also for uniform flow, right? So particle sizes will always make an important factor at flow. The flow properties will depend upon the particle sizes also. Hence the uniform flow will also be enhanced if the size reduction is taking place. Effective extraction of drugs, effective drying, improved physical stability, improved dissolution rate, improved absorption. So we all know smaller the particle size, higher will be the dissolution, and hence if the dissolution is higher and the rate of absorption will be very high. And what are the disadvantages of size reduction? Yes, sometimes there may be some disadvantages in the size reduction also. For example, if you are doing some size reduction to a drug, it may get interaction with the mill. Mill means the equipment which you are going to use for size reduction, right? So that is known as mill. So it may get some contaminants and it may get degradation, or it may get naturally on size reduction itself, due to its particles are getting into smaller size, it may get degrade. So these are the few disadvantages which we can see in size reduction. And various factors affecting size reduction. What are the various factors that will affect size reduction? Includes hardness. We all know very well hardness. So this means if the particle is very hard, right? So then you cannot do size reduction. So it makes very tough for you to choose a mill and to make it into a size reduced product. So there is a scale called Mohs scale. So it is an arbitrary scale of hardness which says different hardness of a material. So I'll show you a scale. So it can be very helpful. Sometimes it can be asked in your question papers also. What is the hardness category in Mohs scale for gypsum, right? For talc, for topaz. So like that they may ask the question. So I given a simple chart which shows you the diagram as well as the hardness ranges, right? So you can go through this. So by this you can know that by increasing the hardness you'll get, by at the bottom you have diamond, right? So it is the hardest substance, right? So the diamond is at the bottom and talc, it is at one top position, so which will be very less hard. So you can easily do the size reduction for talc compared to diamond. And various factors, other factors include material structure. Yes, some structures may be of flakes in structure, so it may lead to some different size reduction equipment or some different types of speed variations, and sometimes crude drugs, right? So in the previous class we have discussed about various pharmacognostic drugs which will be having or extracted from vegetable source or plant source or animal source, right? So these maybe have some cellular structure. So based on that we have to make the mill, choice of mill will be varying, and the equipment which you are going to use will also get different types of speeds or its positioning, everything will differ. So this is also a major factor which is affecting the size reduction. And abrasiveness. So abrasiveness is a property of hard material, okay? So particularly of those which are of mineral in origin. So these will be of mineral origin. Okay, so we know various types of minerals, right? So these minerals will have the property of abrasiveness. What is the biggest drawback of this abrasiveness is they will cause the mill to get worn. So that is if a particle which is of highly abrasive, when it is fed into the mill, for example, if you take a hammer mill or ball mill, it will make the mill to worn, and some tear and some contaminants from the mill will present with the feed or your final product. So this may cause the size reduction to change over to from one mill to another mill. Okay, so we have to choose the material which is of correct abrasiveness with the correct mill. So that is a very important thing. And softening temperature. So some substances will get the softening at a higher temperature. For example, you may be going with the stearic acids, right, or beeswax. These substances will melt. Okay, so if the temperature is going on increasing due to the operation of your mill, which has moving parts, so these moving parts will cause the your substance to get melt. So the temperature of the substance will get increased, and your final product will get softened on, or it may goes to melting stage also. So we must know the melting points and softening ranges of the feed which you are going to use for size reduction. That is also important. If the material is of less melting and boiling points, then you must have a water jacket so that it can pull off the heat from the mill and it can make the temperature with a stable one. And moisture content, the moisture content plays an important role in size reduction, because if the moisture content is very high, right, so then the material will tend to form cakes. So what is cakes? So if a particle contains a moisture content of about 5 to 50% in that ratio, right, so if you are exceeding more than 50%, what happens? The moisture will make the final product into damp mass. These damp mass are known as cakes, especially when you are going for ball mill. So if the moisture content is very high, the ball will get stick with the material, and it will not have the efficiency of making the particles to grind well. So the moisture content also will have an important factor in determining which type of mill is to be used. And crushing strength. So every mill has its own crushing property and own crushing strength. Based on the crushing strength as well as the material's crushing strength, we must determine the product and the mill. And friability, stickiness, soapiness, and explosive. So these are also the various factors which we'll consider before choosing a mill, or these are the factors which will affect the size reduction. And friability, we know that in the tablets we will see this friability as friability index, right? So how much amount the tablet will get while handling or while transporting, it will get into small pieces, right? So bone or tear coming out of the tablets is known as friability, right? So it is the fractures, small fractures which is happening on the materials and which may cause the crushing. So this makes the crushing easier. So if the product is having higher friability, then size reduction can be easily done. So that is very important parameter to be considered. Next, stickiness. A sticky material will tend to clog. So already I have said that some mills only have the property to grind the sticky as well as moisture content, higher moisture content materials, whereas some mills cannot use the moisture content, highly moisture content materials as well as sticky materials, because they tend to stick with each other and they will not give the desired product. So that is very important parameter to be considered. Stickiness, abrasiveness, and moisture content to be checked every time before feeding a product into a mill, right? Next, soapiness. So this is somewhat different, right? Some drugs will give you froth, right, and it may give the soapy effect. So these must be considered before feeding into the mill. So and then if the substance is having that soapiness, we have to choose the correct mill, and we have to use that in a different mill. Okay, and explosive. So sometimes if you are using some mills which get higher temperatures, and the drugs or a substance which can explode at a higher temperature, you should be very careful, because these may lead to explosion of the entire mill, as well as it may lead to damage as well as harmful to the health, or death may also be caused. So we must be very careful in the size reduction, because sometimes we may get the explosive particles also in the feed. So we must be very careful of analyzing the feed as well as the nature of the mill. Okay, and next we are going to see about the various mechanisms of size reduction. So there is different mechanisms, right? So which we'll see. First, impact. So this means a sudden force occurring when one object collide with another. So ஒரு particle இன்னொரு hard material மேல இடிக்கிறப்ப, when both are getting colliding, then the impact will happen. So this is known as impact. And next, attrition. It is because of frictional force, right? So frictional force. What is a frictional force? உராய்வு. So ரெண்டு மெட்டீரியல் இல்லைன்னா ஒரு ஹார்ட் மெட்டீரியலும் இன்னொரு ஃபீட் மெட்டீரியலும் இல்ல ரெண்டு ஃபீட் மெட்டீரியலும் இதுக்கு நடுவுல ஏற்பட்ட அந்த உராய்வுகளால நடக்கிறது தான் இந்த அட்ரிஷன் அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க. நெக்ஸ்ட் ஷியர். ஷியர் அப்படின்னும் போது ஒரு பார்ட்டிகுல டான்ஜென்டியல் ஃபோர்ஸ் அப்ளை பண்ணி அதை பிரேக் பண்றதுக்காக நம்ம யூஸ் பண்றது தான் இந்த ஷியர். ஓகே. அண்ட் கம்ப்ரெஷன். We all know that compression, you have large types of compression mills, right? So if you are keeping the materials in the center and we are compressing with a high force from top to bottom and bottom to top, then the materials will get crushed and you'll get fine particles, right? So this is the various mechanisms by which we can make the particles to get size reduced. So first one is impact. So it is due to collision. So you may get the question collision. So collides அப்படின்ற வார்த்தைகளை நம்ம வந்து you must be very careful. So impactல what type of factors involving அப்படின்னு சொல்லி question வரும்போது we must know collision. Okay. And attrition, frictional force. And for shear, tangential moving. And for compression, hard surface moving each other in an opposite direction. So these are the various key points to be noted which can be asked in your question. Right. And various laws governing our size reduction. So these are just an hypothetical theories. Okay. So no theory is completely useful for size reduction. So especially we have three theories: Kick's law, Rittinger's law, and Bond's law. So first, Kick's law. We'll see Kick's law. So this was the first law given by Kick. So energy required to reduce particle size is proportional to ratio of initial size of typical dimension to the final size of dimension. E is equal to K ln di by dn. So where E is equal to energy required per mass of feed. So இதை நம்ம கொஞ்சம் டெக்னிக்கலா பார்த்தோம் அப்படின்னா, so we have to consider this equation into step by step process. So first என்ன சொல்றாங்க, கிக்ஸ் லா என்ன சொல்லுது அப்படின்னு சொன்னா, இனிஷியல் சைஸ்ல இருந்து ஃபைனல் சைஸ்க்கு வர ரேஷியோ எந்த அளவுக்கு இருக்கோ அந்த அளவுக்கு நம்ம எனர்ஜி கொடுக்கணும். அதுதான் வந்து கரெக்டான ஒரு மெக்கானிசம். நம்ம வந்து ஒரு மில்ல ஆப்ரேட் பண்றோம் அப்படின்னா, கிக்ஸ் லா என்ன சொல்லுது அப்படின்னா, எவ்வளவு எனர்ஜி தேவைப்படும் அந்த பார்ட்டிகலை சைஸ் ரிடக்ஷன் பண்றதுக்கு அப்படின்றதுக்கு கிக்ஸ் லா என்ன சொல்லுது அப்படின்னா, எந்த அளவுக்கு அந்த பார்ட்டிகலை நீங்க சைஸ் ரிடக்ஷன் பண்ண போறீங்கன்ற ரேஷியோவை வச்சுதான் நம்ம வந்து பார்ட்டிகலை வந்து எனர்ஜி கொடுக்க வேண்டியது இருக்கும் அந்த பார்ட்டிகலை உடைக்கிறதுக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்லுது. ஸோ E is equal to the energy required per mass of feed, and K is the Kick's constant, and D is the initial diameter of particles, and Dn is the diameter of newer particles, and Di by Dn is the ratio of size reduction. So initial to the final, what is the ratio between the initial to the final product size is known as ratio of size reduction. So this theory can be only useful if the particles are in large size, right? So it cannot be used for particles of fine materials. Hence, this theory does not prove vital, and it is not widely used for smaller range of particles. And hence, a newer theory was proposed, and that is Rittinger's law or Rittinger's theory. This theory says energy required for reduction in particle size of a solid is directly proportional to its increase in surface area. So you can see here what Rittinger's law says: the energy which is required to make the product to get size reduced will directly proportional to surface area. So if the surface area is keep on increasing, then the energy required will also be increasing. This is what the concept of Rittinger's law says, but this also does not hold good, and this law also cannot be suitable for particles which are of very minute sizes and in which the particle sizes keep on increasing, and you cannot say the energy required will also be keep on increasing. Hence this law also does not hold good. Hence the newer law came with Bond's law. So the Bond's law says size reduction of particles is proportional to new crack's length. So if you are feeding a material, you want to size reduce it, okay, and if you are applying some pressure, the cracks will be formed. So that is what the breaks or cracks will be formed. So based on the cracks only, the energy required for doing the size reduction will depend. So if the cracks are happening at a faster rate or the cracks lengths are very high, then particles reduction will also be taking place at a faster rate. So this law is somewhat closer to the application. Hence this law holds good compared to the Rittinger's law and Kick's law. Hence Bond's law states E is equal to 2 kb 1 by root of dn minus 1 by root of di, where dn and di are initial and final diameter, and kb is Bond's work index, and E is the energy required. Okay, so this law is applicable for rough mill, and it is efficient milling process in various operations. This law is widely used compared to the other two laws. And classification of size reduction equipments, you'll see crushers, grinders, ultra fine grinders, and cutting machine. You'll see here a question: crusher, grinder, both are same, right? So what is the difference between a crusher and a grinder? So there is a term, crushing, grinding. So there you may see, or you may use these words as a synonyms with each other, but these are not synonyms. Crusher is different from grinder, crushing is different from grinding, because in crushing you'll get particles of larger size compared to grinding, in which you'll get a particles of fine size. So grindings or grinder is a equipment which is used to deliver a particle of fine size, whereas crusher will always lead to particle of larger size alone. So this is what the difference between crushing and grinding. And ultra fine grinders will lead to more fine type of grindings, right? So in this place I want to tell you the difference of different types of crushers. So there are different types of crushers, right? So first one is coarse crusher. So this coarse crusher will lead to feeds or lumps which are in the size of 1.5 to 2 inch. Okay, so coarse crusher will give you the feeds or your final product which will be in the range of 1.5 to 2 inch. And next we have fine grinders. Okay, so these fine grinders will give you the product which can pass through mesh size of 200. Okay, and then the intermediate. So the intermediate crushers are those which will produce the product in between the range of coarse and fine. So now I'll give you the examples of coarse grinders or coarse crushers, right? So jaw crushers is an example of coarse crusher. And fine grinder, you have ball mill, roller mill, ultra fine mill. And for intermediate, you have hammer mill, edge runner mill, disc mill, and roller mill. So these are the various examples of crushers, which will be very helpful for you. Okay, so in the question paper or in the questions, you can see the size ranges of coarse crusher. What is the coarse crusher size range or the final product size range they will ask. So you must be very careful in those things. The range is 1.5 to 2 inch. Okay, and for fine grinders, what is the final products ability? It should pass through mesh size of 200. So that is important for fine grinders. And intermediate, it is a intermediate between coarse and fine one. So that is it, hence it is known as intermediate crusher. Okay, so next we are going to proceed to different types of crushers. Okay, first one, the edge runner mill and end runner mill. Grinders, we have for impact, we have hammer mill. For rolling compression, we have roller mill. For attrition, we have attrition mill. Tumbling mill, we have ball mill. Ultra fine grinders, we have fluid energy mill, and cutting machine for cutter mill. So each of these mills have different types of mechanisms. So these mechanisms will have different effect on the product. So you may be getting the questions, which is the equipment that possess both impact and attrition. And you will getting the choice like collider mill, ball mill, fluid energy mill, and all the above. So you can see that all the three equipment work by impact and attrition only. Hence you should choose that these all the above is the option. Okay, so sometimes you'll get what is the equipment that works by impact. You'll be getting the options colloid mill, ball mill, hammer mill. So in that time, you should be very careful that impact only happens as a mechanism only in hammer mill. So you should be very careful in based upon the mechanism only you'll be getting the questions in this chapter. So for hammer mill, the mechanism is impact. For roller mill, it is attrition and compression. For colloidal mill, it is impact and attrition. For ball mill, it is impact and attrition. And for fluid energy mill also, it possesses impact and attrition. So these are the various things which you must consider before going to your exams. We must be very careful of these mills and their mechanisms. Okay, so next we'll go to the different mills. First one is hammer mill. So I'll just give you the idea what happens inside a hammer mill and what are the various parts it contains. So you can see from the right side, the feed will be fed into the area, and it will be coming from top and slanting towards the center part of the mill. So the center part of the mill has a hammer shaft which is attached to a motor. So if the hammer rotates, when the product comes from your right side to the center of the shaft, the hammer will beat the material and it will cause the product to get size reduced. Here you can see the harder material getting impact with the feed. So the feed may be of larger size. So the hard hammer hits the feed and makes into a smaller particles. And in the bottom, you can see there is a milling screen. You can see the diagram. In the bottom, you'll see the milling screen. So the milling screen can be adjusted to different sizes based on the size which we require. The products will come out because the screen will allow only the products which are lesser than the mesh size, right? So that is what happens with your hammer mill. So this is an diagram which shows how the hammer mill looks like, and you can see the hammers also in the center, which is attached to a motor shaft. Okay. So what is the application of hammer mill? Okay, so it is used in the pharmaceutical industry to process wet or dry granulations. So you can see the question may be of this type. What is the mill which is used for both wet and dry granulation? You'll be getting the question like that. So you must be very careful. You will get the questions either on mechanism which they involve, or in the use, or the various drawbacks which it possesses. So based on these only, you'll be getting your questions in pharmaceutical engineering. So you must be key in noting these small simple things by which we can score marks in your exams. And it is used in milling pharmaceutical raw materials, herbal medicine and sugar. It is used in powdering of barks, leaves, roots of medicinal plants. It is applied in milling of API, excipients and other things. So hammer mill is just a simple mill in which the feed will be fed into the chamber, and it will be moving into the center area. From the center area, the hammers will make the feed to get into size reduced due to impact of the hammer with the material, and the bottom will have a screen. So the screen will let the material which is of smaller size than the screen's pore size. So those material will only be collected. So this is the hammer mill's thing. Next we have advantages of hammer mill. So here you can see different types of advantages, right? So these advantages can also be a question in your question paper. It produces specified top size without need for a closed circuit crushing system. So what this says, you can do the size reduction. At the same time, you can also make the particle of a desired size to come out of the mill by using the mesh or your screen which you are placing at the bottom. And it does not require any special equipment or some other things to be attached to get a specified product. Okay, so it produces relatively numerous size distributions with a minimum of fines to self classification. So based on the different types of meshes we are using, we can make the different sizes of fine to coarse and different sizes ranges of products, which can be classified based on the type of mesh we are using. We can classify them and we can separate them easily. So it has high reduction ratio and high capacity for primary, secondary and tertiary grinding because it has a high impact force. It can be used for either primary. So that is what is primary, secondary and tertiary grinding. So sometimes you require the larger particles to be reduced into smaller ones. So they will be of first time they will be going for a grinding. Okay, so that is primary grinding, and subsequent grindings are secondary. And finally, if you want the product to be into a smaller size, very smaller size, right? So fine size. So they will be going at a frequent grinding. It will go into the some other steps, right? So that is tertiary grinding. So relative reasonable energy requirements. Brittle materials are best fractured by impact from blunt hammers. So this is the important point to be noted here. So brittle materials. So brittle materials are the substance which will tend to fracture easily or which will tend to break easily. So these brittle materials can be easily fractured because the hammers has a high impact. When we are applying a high impact on a brittle material, it will get into smaller pieces at a very faster rate compared to sharp edges or sharp running equipment. So hammers, blunt hammers, so it does not have any sharp range, but the blunt hammer itself can make the particle into minute small pieces. So brittle materials are widely and very easily can be fractured with the help of hammers. Okay, so it should be considered. And it also has some disadvantages. I'll give you some important disadvantages for this, especially if you are having sticky material or material which tends to form a heat, right? So which can make sticky in nature, or which will get stick to the hammer in when we apply it into the hammer mill, right? So that should not be used for if the substance which you are going to feed is of sticky in nature, and it will melt if your feed is going to melt, right? So if your feed's melting point is very low, and the hammer is going to produce some heat energy because it has a moving part. So always remember, very important thing, if the mill has moving part in the grinding area or the core area, it will automatically provide heat. So there is only one mill which can do milling without any moving part in the core area. So after finishing the entire syllabus now, I'll ask the question, which mill has the capability to reduce the particle without having any moving parts. Okay, so in that time, let us see how many of you are aware that which mill can do that thing. So now I'll continue. So sticky materials and materials which is of plastic like nature cannot be used in this mill. And the most important thing is, sometimes if the feed rate is not controlled, it may get choked. So what is choke? So if you are feeding a very large quantity of substance into the hammer mill, the hammer cannot rotate, right? So you can see in this diagram. So if you are feeding from right to the center, if you are feeding at above 80 to 90%, the entire mill will get clogged. So the hammer cannot move, and if it moves also, it cannot impact the material, and hence it cannot produce a fine particle. So that makes a very tough thing for a hammer mill to cause the size reduction. Hence you must be very careful of how much amount the feed has been introduced into the mill. And sometimes you can get clogging of screens. At the bottom you'll having mesh, right, or your screen, so that may get clogged. Clogging means the particles will get entrapped. So adha poi appadiye maatikkum. So appadi maatikkum bodhu adha vida fine irka particles adu valiya keela vara mudiyadhu. So that is what says clogging of particles on the screen. So that is also a drawback. In that stage you have to remove the screen, and you have to completely remove the clogs, and you have to reassemble it. So that makes a wide disadvantage of hammer mill. And then we have next thing is a ball mill. So this is an important mill, and it works by both impact and attrition. And you will get the question, what is the other name of ball mill? Okay, so it is called as pebble mill or tumbling mill. Sometimes you will be getting the question, pebble mill is also known as dash. So you must be aware, pebble mill or also known as ball mill, or tumbling mill is also known as ball mill. So these are the other names which can you get the confusions while you are working on a pharmaceutical engineering chapters. You'll be seeing lot of mills, right? So now we are going to see, if you are getting subject wise and you are getting the concept wise things of different mills, then you will not get any confusion, because each mill has its name because of some parts involved in it. Because in the previous one we have hammer like structure, hence it is known as hammer mill. Now ball mill, so it has ball. Or pebbles, we'll see, we'll use the word pebble, right? So something which is of round in size and very small in size, of very hard nature, pebbles, right? So we'll call kudangal. So pebbles we'll see. So அந்த மாதிரியான materials, balls use பண்ணலாம் or pebbles use பண்ணலாம். Sometimes we'll use rods. So hence it is also known as rod mill. It is an another version of ball mill, right? So series of inventions made different types of mills, but everything comes under the same principle of impact and attrition. Why it is known as tumbling mill? Because it tumbles, hence it is known as tumbling mill. Okay, so that should be a thing which should be noted for a ball mill. It gets tumbled and it rotates from shaft, hence it tumbles, hence it is known as tumbling mill. So the ball range could be of different size, and the ball should be of a diameter 30 to 50%. So you will be getting the question at this stage, what should be the diameter of a ball for a ball mill? So you'll be getting different types of options. The option which you should choose is 30 to 50% of mill volume. Okay, so remember the numbering 30 to 50%. So you can see the diagram and construction of a ball mill. So the material which is to be fed is fed from the top to inside the chamber, and balls, it will be a normal ball which is of a very hard iron or stainless steel in nature, which will be also kept inside the chamber. And once the machine is switched on, it will start rotating. Once it rotates, the ball along with the feed will move in a different direction, right? So when the particle rotates or the chamber rotates, the balls along with the feed will move. So in this, three things has to be noted. So high speed, low speed, and correct speed. So what the speed means? So if you are going for low speed, you'll be only able to see sliding. So what is sliding? Since the speed is very low, the particles will not move from bottom to top, or it will not go into rising position. Hence, it will only slide at the bottom of the mill. Hence, it will have only sliding motion. Only attrition will be there, and it does not have any impact. But we know that ball mill possesses both impact and attrition. So the low speed is does not the correct speed for doing the ball mill operation. Hence, if you are going for high speed, so if you are going at a very high speed, what happens? If a particle is keep on rotating, your cylinder or your chambers keep on rotating, you will get the centrifugal force. So this centrifugal force will cause the particles to go to the edge of the chamber, and it will get into circulatory motion, and it does not have any impact. Just it will move in a rotational force alone. So these two things to be avoided, and it should have the correct speed. So the correct speed is the one which can provide both attrition and impact. You can see in the last diagram, the particles are rising from top to bottom, and they are falling from top to bottom. So this causes impact. When the particles are rising from bottom to top, they will have impacts or attrition between them. And when the ball are falling from the top to the bottom, they will automatically crush the bottom feed which is present there, and they will make the feeds to get into smaller size. So this is what to be considered for correct speed of ball milling. And while you are doing the correct speed, you're getting the action called cascading. So at low speed, you will get sliding. At a high speed, you'll get centrifuging. And at correct speed, you'll get cascading. So the question may be of this thing, right? So at low speed, what type of effect will be produced? The options may be centrifuging, cascading, sliding, all the above. So you should be very careful that it should, at low speed, it will have only sliding effect. And low speed also has some application. So if you are going for any dyes or pigments to be milled, then you can go for low speed, because they does not have a very large size, and they does not require to be higher impact. So on that stage, you can go for low speed, so that you can mill the dyes and pigments or some other insecticides which is of a very smaller size, which requires less attrition forces enough to make the particles into finer range. Okay, so stainless steel balls are preferred. You know that very well. Iron can rust, right? So hence we will go for stainless steel, especially if your product is to be sterile or it's to be used for ophthalmic or parenteral preparation. Because if you are using steel or iron or copper, it may get corrosion, and it may lead to some wear and tear. So these may involve in the product's efficacy, or it may make the stability to be degraded. So hence you require a better ball which is of stainless steel, so that it does not interact with the product, and it does not easily go into wear and tear. So that is important thing to be noted in a ball mill. So this is what the ball mill looks like, and I have explained you the working and various speed ranges. Okay, so A, B, C has been given. A is low speed, B is high speed, and C is speed at which the correct speed in which the particles will be in a cascading action. Both the impact and attrition will takes place. Okay, so what will be the correct speed? 2/3 of the entire speed has to be made. That is the correct speed. Okay, so degree of milling in a ball mill is influenced by residence time of the material in the mill chamber. So how much time the material is getting inside the chamber is an important thing to be noted, because if the mill is started for 5 minutes and it has been switched off within some 10 minutes. Okay, so if you are keeping the material or your feed in for in the mill for 10 minutes, so the product will be of the size range of a certain range. Let us keep it as 300 mm, and the same material, same balls, everything same, but we are keeping for 20 minutes. What will be the size? It will be automatically reduced, because larger the time the feed inside the mill, and smaller the particle size will be happening due to the impact and attrition, right? So next, the size, density, and number of balls. So these are also influenced by ball mill's efficiency. So if the size of the material or ball, density, and number of balls, how many balls we are keeping inside, also plays a biggest impact in the efficiency of ball mill. And nature of ball. So what type of ball you are using, and what does it process. Sometimes we'll be using some different types of balls, right? So rods can be used sometimes, rod shape. So balls are usually in a round shape. So if you want, you can go for rod shape, and it is known as rod mill. So that is different type. Next, we'll have feed rate and feed level in the vessel. So how much feed we already see the those things in the working itself. So if the feed rate is very high and feed level is very high, the system tend to form a choke. So we cannot process the material in a correct efficiency. So that also makes a important thing to be considered in ball mill. And pharmaceutical uses, so it is widely used in grinding of, then you can go for ball mills, and it is widely used in pharmaceutical chemical manufacturing, right? So in separation of ores or separation of different substance or materials from ores, it can be widely used to make the ores to get size reduced. Okay, so advantages. So it produces very fine powder, because if you're keeping the particle for a very longer time, you can get very fine powder. So that is what the ball mill's advantage is. So it can produce particles of 10 microns. You can see the particle size of less than 10 microns. So that is very fine. So if you want particles of very fine, which is the mill you want to use, you'll be getting the option ball mill, hammer mill, edge runner mill. So you can choose easily that ball mill is the one which can produce the particles of size range of 10 microns. Okay, 10 microns or less than 10 microns. That is the range of ball mill. Okay, and it is continuous in operation. You can keep on doing the ball mill without any need of stopping it. But it has some disadvantages also. So you can see, since you have to feed manually and you have to unload it manually, it requires longer time, and it tends to be, cleaning process tends to be very tedious and very difficult, and contamination of the product may occur due to the balls wear and tear. Because sometimes if you are using the ball of iron or copper or some other material which can get tear or wear due to longer usage, so these material will shed their particles or remnants in the feed, which may cause the deterioration of the product. So these are the various disadvantages of a ball mill. Next, fluid energy mill. The fluid energy mill, it's a very important mill. So you'll get the question here. So what does the fluid energy mill possess? After the construction and principle, I'll ask the question, what is the thing to be noted with the fluid energy mill? So it works by both impact and attrition, similar to ball mill. Here both impact and attrition will be taking place. So you can see in the diagram I've given you in the right side bottom. So the feed or solid inlet will make the feed to pass into the mill, and you can see the fluid inlet at the bottom, which in which the fluid will be injected at a very high speed. Okay, so high velocity will be passed, so that it carries the solid from bottom and lifts to the top, and in the top it will get attrition and impact. Both will happen because particles will collide with each other, feed will collide with each other, and it will also have attrition with the nearby product. So both impact and attrition will take place, and this process is a continuous process, right? So the particles will fall from top to bottom, it will get impact. If the particle size is of very less, it will be screened out in the center. You can see the classifier removes the fine particles and fluid. In the diagram I've given you that the part in the center which completely removes the fine particles. If the particles of higher size is there, they will not be allowed to move inside the classifier. Hence, it will again fall down, and it will be again carried to the top side by the fluid which is coming from the bottom. So this is what the principle and construction and working of a fluid energy mill. So in a fluid energy mill, the loop size, okay, so that is loop size and height, these things to be considered. So we'll be getting the question, what will be the diameter? So the diameter of the loops may be 20 to 200 millimeter, and height may be up to 2 meters. Okay, so this is the important thing to be considered in a construction of a fluid energy mill. And working, I have given you the working, right? So from bottom, the high velocity fluid will carry the feed, and it will cause the attrition, and when it falls from top to bottom, it will get impact, and this impact will lead to size reduction. By keep on doing this, at one stage the particles of lesser size will be formed, which can be removed with the help of the classifiers, and the particles which is of higher size will again keep on falling from top to bottom, and which is also get the attrition between them, and the size reduction will takes place. Fluid energy mill usually reduces the particles of range between 1 to 20 micron. Okay, so previously we saw the ball mill can produce particles of size range less than 10 microns, and this one also can produce 1 to 20 micron. So fluid energy mill is used in milling thermolabile material. So here you get the question, what is thermolabile material and why the fluid energy mill can be used. So this is the question I want to ask you. So anybody from the participant willing to say the answer, why the thermolabile substance can be used, and why only the fluid energy mill possesses this option in the mills which we saw? Anybody? இப்போ fluid energy mill மட்டும் நம்ம thermolabile substance யூஸ் பண்ணலாம், ball mill, hammer mill யூஸ் பண்ண முடியாது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி சொல்றோம் இல்லையா? சோ அது ஏன்? Yes, Clara is saying no production of heat, right? So why? That is the question. Why no production of heat? So that is the question. Yes, you are right. No production of heat is right, Clara. But why? Anybody? Okay, so I'll tell you the answer. Because in fluid energy mill, it does not possess any moving object inside the mill. Okay, so there will not be any moving part like hammer or your ball, which tends to move and makes. Yes, sir.
Clara already has mentioned no moving parts in equipment.
Yes, no moving parts. Correct. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So
congrats, Clara. Congrats.
Yes, congrats to Clara. Good. So this mill does not provide any moving parts, right? So this is the mill which does not possess any moving parts. So you may be getting the question in your question paper, which mill does not possess any moving parts inside the milling area. You may be getting the options like ball mill, hammer mill, fluid energy mill, and edge runner mill. We should be careful that fluid energy mill is the only mill which does not possess any moving parts inside the grinding area. Okay, and it is very suitable for thermolabile materials since no heat is produced. It is completely capable of grinding the thermolabile materials. Thermolabile, you should differentiate the word thermo, which means heat, labile, so which does not like the heat, right? So it will degrade on a high temperature, hence it is known as thermolabile. So these substances should not be treated at a higher temperature. So if the material is being kept at a higher temperature, they will get degraded. So that is why these thermolabile materials which should be milled at the mill which cannot produce any heat. So fluid energy mill is the correct option which can produce good efficiency of size reduction for thermolabile materials. And this mill is a choice for when high degree of purity is required, because it does not have any moving parts, so no tear and wear, and the particles it does not have any opening or closures, so there is no outside environmental impact of the product. So this mill can be used for ophthalmic preparations or your parenteral preparations. So this is the used mill for those types of preparations which require high amount of purity. So fluidized mill is widely used in grinding of kaolin, zircon, titanium, calcium, and alumina. You may be getting these questions in your question paper. So be careful with these examples also. Okay. So next, what are the advantages of fluid energy mill? So it possesses wide range of advantages. So it can produce very small particle sizes and easily well sterilized and well closed. It does not have any moving parts. It does not possess any heat. It can be used for thermolabile material. So these are the various advantages of fluid energy mill. But even though it has wide range of advantages, it has some disadvantages also. Formation of ultra fine particles. So this has been sometimes very useful and sometimes as a disadvantage. So what is the disadvantages of forming a very ultra fine particles? So these ultra fine particles are those sometimes which is of very smaller size. The required size may be from 10 to 15 nanometer or 10 to 15 micro, right? Size 10 to 15 micro size, but you may be getting the size in nano. So this leads to ultrafine particles. So these ultrafine particles cannot be used and it is not acceptable within the range, right? So that makes sometimes the fluid energy mill as a disadvantage. Okay, so it leads to aggregates and agglomerates. So these fine particles will tend to form aggregates. So small lumps or some aggregates or agglomerates will form. So this leads to products degradation, or sometimes it may lead to, for example, if you are going for suspension, these aggregates and agglomerates will may influence the sedimentation rate of the particle. Okay, so sedimentation rate will differ if the particles are very fine. So you'll be seeing those things in your Sutix suspension chapter. So based on the particle size only, your product will get either flocculated or deflocculated. Based on that only, the sedimentation rate will be involved. Hence, these mill sometimes produce particles of ultra fine ranges. So that leads to a disadvantage of fluid energy mill. And edge runner mill. So this is well-known mill. We have all seen this mill. This is an important thing to be known about the edge runner mill. It is also known as Chilean mill or roller stone mill. Keep a note on it. You may be getting the question, what is the other name of Chilean mill? So the answer should be edge runner mill. So sometimes you can get both the answers, edge runner mill, roller stone mill, and ball mill, or A and B. So you should choose that A and B, edge runner mill and roller stone mill. Both has the same thing, or same with the Chilean mill, roller stone mill, and edge runner mill. All these three mills are same. So you must be very careful with the synonym names. So you may be getting the questions there also. And the principle which is involved in edge runner mill is crushing. Okay. So here you saw the diagram, right? So இந்த diagram பாத்தீங்கனாலே உங்களுக்கு புரியும். ஸோ என்ன நடக்குது இதுக்குள்ள அப்படின்றது எல்லாரும் நம்ம பார்த்த ஒரு விஷயம் தான். இது ஒன்றும் ஒரு புதுசா நமக்கு தெரியாத ஒரு விஷயமே கிடையாது. ஸோ 2 ஹெவி ரோலர்ஸ் இருக்கு. அந்த ரோலர்ஸ் ரோல் ஆக போகுது. ஸோ இட் வில் ரொட்டேட் அண்ட் இட் ரெவால்வ். It will has both the actions. It makes the particle or feed which is present inside to get crushed down, and it will lead to the particle in a smaller size. So very simple. ரொம்ப ஈஸியா புரிஞ்சிக்கக்கூடிய விஷயம். நம்ம வீட்ல வெட் கிரைண்டர் பார்த்தாலே தெரிஞ்சிடும். ஸோ வெட் கிரைண்டர் எப்படி இருக்குமோ அதே மாதிரி ஒரு செட்டப் தான். ஸோ இங்க சென்டர்ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா 2 ஆக்ஸ் மாதிரி கொடுத்துருக்காங்க இல்லையா? அது எதுக்குன்னா ஸ்கிராப்பர்ஸ். ஸோ ஏதாவது பேஸ்லயோ இல்லைன்னா சைட்ஸ்ல வந்து ஸ்டிக் ஆயிடுச்சு அப்படின்னா அதை ஸ்கிராப் பண்ணி எடுக்கிறதுக்காக சென்டர்ல ஸ்கிராப்பர்ஸ் இருக்கும். அண்ட் on the both sides you will get heavy rollers. So these rollers will be varying from different size in diameter 0.5 to 2.5 meter, and the weight may be up to 6 tons. So see the weightage. So if 6 ton, okay, so 6 ton is rolling over a material, then what happens? The material surely will get into smaller size, and the fracture will surely happen for that material, and easily the size reduction can be achieved. Okay, so the edge runner mill possess various usage, especially in the pharmacognostical area for fibrous and materials which tends to have this cellular structures and fibrous in nature. You can go for edge runner mill. The question may be like this: what is the mill you are using for fibrous material like roots and bark? So you should be very carefully choosing edge runner mill. Okay. So next, end runner mill. It is also similar to the edge runner mill, but there is a small difference between edge runner mill and end runner mill. Here, the principle is both impact and shear. Okay. So what the shear and impact both happens here? You can see the diagram from the left side. You can see it clearly. It contains a pan and a scraper attached onto it. And in the right side, you can see that base of eccentrically attached weight, which is on the top, it is lifted, right? So if you are moving that weight into the pan, it will automatically make the crushing. So the mechanism by which this happens, I'll show you the next diagram. You can see here. So this top lifted portion on the right can be moved into the pan, so which makes the crushing to happen. So the working we'll see here. The end runner mill provides moderately fine powder and operates successfully with fibrous material. This is also a question which can be asked. What is the mill that can be used for fibrous material? You should be very careful that edge runner mill and end runner mill are capable of using grinding the fibrous materials, right? Roots or your barks or your pharmacognostical materials, whatever you want, which is of fibrous in nature, you can go with the edge runner mill or end runner mill. Now I'll give you the working nature alone. The vessel rotates by friction and is free to rise and fall. This is what happens. So you can see here, the vessel will rotate and it will also move top and it will automatically fall down. So while it is falling from top to bottom, it will crush the material. So impact will happen, and shear will happen when it is moving in a circular eccentric path. So both impact and shear will happen in a mill that is end runner mill. So you should be careful that end runner mill possess both shear and impact. So the question may be, which is the mill that possesses both shear and impact? You will be getting edge runner mill, end runner mill, both in the option. You should choose end runner mill as the correct option. So here the pestle rotates, so by which it causes friction and it leads to shear, and it will rise from top and it will hit the bottom. So this causes the impact. Okay, so these are the working mechanism involved in end runner mill. Okay, it has possessed some advantages and disadvantages too. So it produces fine particles, it requires less attention during a milling procedure. So these may be the advantage, but the disadvantages are it is not suitable for sticky material, and machines leads to noise pollution because the pestle is rising from top and it is again falling into the pan. It may lead to high noise, and also ball mill also will produce huge noise. Okay, so you must be very careful. The end runner mill and ball mill both produce noise because the ball will move there, and here the pestle is moving from top to bottom and again bottom to top, so that the rise and fall will lead to always noise. So noisy equipments are your ball mill and end runner mill. So you can be getting the question from there also, in what are the mill which will produce huge noise, or the what are the mill as noisy mill, like that you may be getting the question. So you must be very aware of that. Ball mill and end runner mill both are capable of producing huge noise. Okay, and this is an outflow or a chart which will give you the complete details. So if you go through this chart alone, you will get complete idea what I thought for this entire session. So this chart will give you complete thing, right? So cutter mill, roller mill, hammer mill, ball mill, fluid energy mill, edge runner mill, these mills principle, their product size, their use, and they are not suitable for. For example, we see a hammer mill not suitable for abrasive material, roller mill not suitable for abrasive material, ball mill not suitable for soft and sticky materials. Okay, and fluid energy mill, end runner mill, so these are also not suitable for sticky materials. So you may be getting the question either by the action or principle they are working, or the size range, or by their use, or by the way which they cannot be used. So by the nature of material which can be used, and by the nature of the material which they cannot be used. So these may be the questions which you may be getting. So this chart will help you, I hope. And I'll also add some other key things to be noted. So that is you may be getting the question, what are the mills without moving part? I already discussed, that is fluid energy mill and multi-mill. Okay, so multi-mill is another type of mill. So this mill has 12 knives for impact and 2 scrapers. Okay, so it has 12 knives, so which will make the impact of the feed, and it has 2 scrapers. So you may be getting the question, multi-mill has how many type of knife, sorry, how many numbers of knife? So you should be very careful, that number is 12, and how many scrapers? The number is 2. And what is the multi-mill speed range or rotation range? You should be careful that it is 720 to 288 rpm. Okay, and these are the things to be considered. And you may be getting the question, coarse crushers range. What is the range for coarse crusher? The coarse crusher will produce particles or your final product range of 1.5 to 2 inch. And what is the range for fine grinders? The fine grinders particle should pass through mesh size of 200. Okay, and the intermediate will produce the particles between coarse and fine range. So, and their examples can also be asked. So this is what the session today covered, the entire size reduction chapter. If you have any doubts, you can surely ask me, and there is no language barrier. You can ask me either in Tamil or English, that does not matter. So you can ask me in any language. So the session is open for your questions. You can ask me.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Vigneshwar, for your excellent and helpful talk, especially on pharmaceutical engineering.
Thank you,
and especially for size reduction. Actually, we could understand it's a very big topic. It is not possible to cover within an hour, but you made it really. And it is a concept understanding is very crucial. And you given a very important point to make the students to understand. Hope the students might really benefited with this session. and definitely they will score. Even all the key points you have highlighted repeatedly, like all this, how many blades are there, how this kind of works is going on, and these are the things they, if they read themselves, they may not understood this is the very key points. Really, it's really good. Really, we also really enjoyed your session. As Jaykumari Madam has told, at this young age, you really given an excellent talk and to make the students to understand. Really, we also blessed from our side. It has to continue. Even in future, also you have to give a lot of talk to the students for the benefits. Okay. With this, if any of the students, if they have any questions, let us see. Actually, no question from the student side. Clara mentioned they need a PPT for this presentation. Even earlier also, some of the students has requested for the PPT. I request the speakers to share your PPT. We can, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I request Jaykumari Madam or Meenakshi Madam if they want to share anything.
Good session. Thanks, Dr. Vigneshwar, because last year also he had taken efforts in delivering a talk. I too wanted to add to that. Dr. Jaykumari speak. Thank you, sir, for the second consecutive year which you have contributed. Thank you.
And I have to sincerely thank IPGA and PAA-MMC Association for giving me this opportunity, which made me to give some of my knowledge to share my knowledge to the students so that they can benefit from the sharing of information. So I keep on want to be associated with the IPGA and PAA-MMC Association, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. And Meenakshi Madam is always giving some inputs in the groups, which is very helpful for me. Thank you, Madam. Thank you for posting those informations. Thank you, Madam.
Yes, thanks, Vigneshwar, for your valuable presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very useful information regarding size reduction.
Yes,
I hope those students benefited. Thanks, Vigneshwar. As
you,
Vigneshwar said, Meenakshi Madam is also posting many notes and knowledge materials. So I request all the students to utilize in the group. Thank you, Vignesh.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. At this junction, I would like to thank PAA-MMC and IPGA Tamil Nadu chapter for organizing this continuous GPAT classes. Even on Sundays, many of our faculties as well as our members, they have taken steps to continue this. Really, I am thankful for each and every one. And I would like to mention Dr. Jaykumari Madam and Meenakshi Madam for faculty coordination as well as students coordination. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Kannan Krishnan for the technical support. Really, it is great to say because every Sunday he is spending more than 3 to 4 hours with us. Also, I thank Mr. Malar Kannan. He is my colleague and he is giving a lot of support. And Dr. T. Uma for coordinating with the faculty. Also, without the participants, it is not going to success. So I thank all the participants, and we are doing these efforts mainly for your success only. So kindly spread this information and ask your friends also to attend every Sunday. So your success is our success. So definitely we are waiting for more students for next Sunday. Since the exam has got postponed, so we may extend till the exam. So even if they joined from next week onwards, definitely they will benefit. So thank you very much for one and all. Thanks a lot. With this, we will conclude the session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chino. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all the.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Meenakshi Madam.
Thank you.
Pandim, sir.
Thank you.
Kannan, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Chino.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank Kannan and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay. எங்க இருந்து வரீங்க? உட்காருங்க.